1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true.
One of resistance.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. We got a great show for you this week, so we're not going to wait around or waste any time. My name is Aaron Harris, and joining me is the wrecker to my tech, the David Motters. David, what's up, brother?
Hey man, I love that one. That's a really good comparison. That's big time right there. I'm doing great. I'm ready to react, and we're gonna have a fun time tonight, and hopefully everybody enjoys it.
Well, the other option was the Hunter to my Omega, but I just don't have the hair to pull off Omega.
And I don't have the hair to pull off Hunter. Dark and brooding. No. I used to have hair, but it's all gone.
Oh, have mercy. How's everything going, my friend?
Well, pretty good. You and I just updated a little bit before we got on, and just had a good weekend, a holiday weekend, and boy, oh boy, do I really like that this is a 4-day week, so I'll take that any day. And how about you, buddy?
Doing good. Got for the most part, recovering from dental surgery, but other than that, which I'm glad it was a long weekend, it gave me extra time to recover before having to go back to work. But it was pretty quiet weekend, which was very nice to deal with. I will say this though, I did get some sunshine today.
Nice. It's dry. You need some more.
I got some sunshine today when the mailman dropped off this nice size box at my doorstep.
You're gonna tell the listeners what you got, because you sent me pictures and I'm jealous.
My chopper arrived. My USPS, United States Postal Service, framed chopper poster, I guess is what you would call it, with the droid stamps in it. Absolutely gorgeous. I squealed like a little kid after I got her open. It is stunning. I did post pictures on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so you could see everybody could see what it looks like. I even posted videos of me opening the box, I was in so much of a hurry to get in the box, I wanted to see it. I didn't talk much, but I think right there at the end of it, I squealed, "Chopper!" So
that's awesome.
I love that droid. So yes, he showed up today with my sheet of stamps as well, which I was very impressed with the stamps. I figured they would just throw the stamps in an envelope and mail it, and they did for the most part. But they actually put in almost like one of the things you would put a comic book in, the plastic sleeve. It's in one of those with a cardboard backing, and it's sealed.
Nice. I saw it. Quite telling the picture, but it looked nice.
And I was like, I cannot believe they sent a sheet of stamps like this. And they are stunning. Chopper looks so cute sitting there.
No, that looks really cool. We talked about it last week, and I thought when you showed me this stuff and you sent me the link, and I just haven't had a chance to order them yet. I'd like to get them. I think I got stamps in 2007, maybe. That would have been the 77, 87, 97, the 30th anniversary, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I got stamps then, and I got to take a look and find those. But I really do like what you got there. I don't know, man. I'm just hitting critical mass on space. But they don't take up much, thin little layers of stamps, so There you go.
No, they don't take up much room. And the pictures is actually a good size. And it's framed so you can hang it on the wall and everything. And it doesn't take up. It's the perfect size to go right next to my bookcase here. So I'm just going to have to shift my chopper stuff from the left side, from the right side of the bookcase to the left side to be next to the picture. But then if I do that, it'll be separated from my Rebel stuff, which means I'll have to move my Rebel stuff. And then if I have to move my Rebel stuff, I'll have to move my Star Trek stuff. And if I do that, my Masters of the Universe, it just turns into a massive reshuffle.
Oh, wow. That's a production, brother.
Yes, it is. It will be quite the haul once I move it, which I'm going to have to move it anyway because I got my replacement Obi-Wan doll bust from Amazon, because the first one they sent was broken, so I got the replacement one, which is gorgeous, and there's no room for it on my Obi-Wan shelf, so I need more room for my Obi-Wan shelf. So everything's going to have to get shuffled around anyway.
Well, space and bookcases and shelves are key. My office, I had a bunch of people checking out my office, which is full of Star Wars stuff, and I definitely need to take pictures, send them to you so we can put them on Instagram. I hit critical mass in there. I need more shelves, more something. I don't know. So, or I just need to kind of stop. I'm starting to think about my kids and having to deal with all this stuff. I'm like, oh, geez, I guess when I'm dead, I don't want to know that they sold it all for like just $10, all the books, all the Star Wars. I just don't even want to know.
Here's $20. Just take the load.
Oh gosh, take it. Heck, I'd say take it to Rancho Obi-Wan, and let them go through it, see what they like. If they've got doubles, toss it or whatever. But
I don't see them doing that though.
I don't know. I know, unless I coach them up and put it.
No, I'm talking about Rancho Obi-Wan throwing stuff away if it's a
no.
double.
Well, no, I would figure if they had doubles of stuff, they might, I don't know, donate.
Giveaways.
Exactly. Right. Like during the gala, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Which I am looking forward to again this year. So
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. That's coming up. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff going on. A lot of great things. So, yeah, I definitely am at critical mass for where I am currently. Yeah, not a lot of room. Yeah.
The issue of space and hitting critical mass and our wives, and our marriages. And so this is always a balancing act. I mean, it's a tightrope, people.
Oh, it is. It's walking a tightrope. So, all right. Well, let's get into some of the news we got tonight. Not a lot of news, but a couple things I just wanted to highlight that came out this week. The big announcement this week was Disney and Lucasfilm announced a new limited Star Wars series, comic series, is going to be coming out starting in October. It's going to be called Star Wars: The High Republic Trial of Shadows. The art in this comic will be by David Watchtier, and it's going to be written by Daniel Jose Older. And the description they put on this was actually quite intriguing. They described it as a noir-style mystery that ties into the novels, including the upcoming release, Rising Storm by Kevin Scott. So all of this comic is going to tie into all these books that have already come out and are coming out, and continue to do some mystery that's going on. So that actually sounds very interesting. That's be hitting your comic shops in October.
So I've done all the comics so far. Daniel Jose's High Republic Adventures, as well as Kevin Scott's High Republic, the main Marvel line, and I've enjoyed them. I'm looking forward to Rising Storm. Going to get that on Audible. That follows up Light of the Jedi, right? By our who's the main not the main guy, but
Charles Soule.
Thank you, Charles, and how he did that. I do like Daniel Jose Older, and I've been enjoying his comic there, and seeing how this will tie in. I think a lot of this is going to do with what's coming up is the Republic Fair, right? That the Chancellor Lena So is holding. So they're going to do a whole bunch of intrigue and stories around that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad it's a limited series versus 3 series going on. That's one thing that Kevin Scott said. Is he says we do understand, not just us authors, but Lucasfilm, that this is a big commitment by people to stay up with all this stuff. It's but I have to admit I have enjoyed the break after the initial 3 books. That's helped, because you and I were talking about having time to get through Victory's Price, the 3rd book in the Alphabet Squadron trilogy, as well as the Thrawn 2nd book. I'm almost done with it. I know Aaron's finished it, so just having a little time to get into those and get them done before the end of this month, end of June, where it really kicks back up again, the High Republic.
Yeah, and speaking of books, and I didn't bring this up before we started the news, but this is going to be a tangent. I finished Dark Disciple.
Nice.
Oh, my Lord.
Yes.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
It was so good. Oh, my Lord. By the time I was done with that, I'm sitting there going, I can't start another Star Wars book right now. I need more time to absorb this.
Well,
and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it yet, but if you haven't read it and you like the Clone Wars, you have to read this book. Mm-hmm. It's unparalleled. It's based on unused Clone Wars scripts, and it is just, oh my Lord, it blew me away.
Yeah. A lot of Star Wars fans wanted to see those fully animated. And just like the other thing would be not just Dark Disciple, but the other one is the Son of Dathomir comic, which was one of Dark Horse's last ones, it's another story that's within the Clone Wars with, Maul being taken captive by Sidious and Dooku, and showing his escape from them. So man, those would have been really neat to see them animated like they ended up doing with Bad Batch last year, not this year's, but season 7, and to see Dark Disciple fully animated. Oh my.
Yeah, but at the same point though, I think there a lot of the. I was sitting there listening to it, and I'm sitting there playing it in my mind. How this would play, trying to figure out how much different it would have been if they actually would have been made into episodes, into the arc that it was meant to be. I think there are definitely some things that would get cut.
Yes. In
that format that would impact the story in and of itself. There's just the in-depth intimacy between Asajj and Ventress was just the way they connected on that ultra level. It was, oh my gosh.
Well, I think you meant not Asajj and Ventress.
Asajj and
Quinlan Voss.
Quinlan, yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. It was just something on another level. I've watched Clone Wars. I can't tell you how many times. Never once would have cared what happened to Ventress. Then this book happened, and I was, you just can't help but feel for her.
Oh.
And it is just, oh my gosh.
Well, and like you and I have talked before, and I've mentioned it on the podcast before, back even before we were doing Bad Batch or even Resistance reactions, was I had gone down to Lakeland, and you and I were going to meet up and go there, and I ended up being the only one who could go to that particular con, and Christy Golden was there, and she wrote Dark Disciple, And I remember talking to her and just praising her up and down about how awesome it was. And I really spent probably the most time, because I think it was more recent, was Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad. Both of those books by her are just
phenomenal. Yeah.
Just phenomenal. I mean, I just love them. But I think she was telling me there that she had signed on with Blizzard, who does World of Warcraft, and
Yeah.
so I think she's doing mostly that now. But I would love to see her come back and do more Star Wars.
I wouldn't mind it at all.
No.
I will say this: that book, a couple 10 episodes ago, we did our top books, our top novels.
Yeah.
Yeah, this book just destroyed my top 5. I mean, it destroyed it and took no prisoners. I mean, wow. All right.
Well, when I listen to other podcasts, I do that. I've heard a number of people there. It's pretty much, at least in new canon from 2015 on, what I hear most people say, and again, other people have other, I hear 2 books, Lost Stars and Dark Disciple, they're really excellent, Claudia Gray and Chrissy Golden. Yeah.
Yeah. I finished Lost Stars too before I did Dark Disciple. And it was good. I enjoyed it, but man, Dark Disciple just was, oh my gosh. It was one of those that if I'd have been actually physically reading the book, I wouldn't have been able to put it down. But since I was listening to it, I didn't want to turn it off. Who
narrated it? Because I read it.
Thompson.
Mark. Okay, because I'm looking at the book right now in front of me.
I think it was Mark Thompson. Let me double check.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Mark Thompson.
Okay.
It's actually, I still have it on my phone. Hold on here.
Because I had gotten that book and read it before I had done the switch to Audible.
Yeah, Mark Thompson.
Oh, good. I might have to get that and just listen to him. Yeah, I really do.
And what I found very interesting too is afterwards, there was after the story ended, there was almost like they called it a forward, but they read it after the episode ended, or after the book was done. Where it was from Katie Lucas, one of George's kids.
No way.
And apparently she was one of the writers of this arc for the Clone Wars.
Okay.
And she was talking about how Star Wars impacted her and how she was able to come in and write. Apparently she wrote that script after a major breakup. And I'm there going, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah, and she did a lot of work on the Night Sisters too.
Yes, she did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So very unique. Definitely, if you took nothing from the conversation we just had about anything from the High Republic, go listen to Dark Disciple and go pick up your comics in October when Trail of Shadows come out. That's the nutshell there. So let's bring it back around. Try to get back on, get this Star Speeder back on course. We mentioned last week in our last episode, Central Florida Comic Con's coming up June 12th and 13th. I will actually be there the 12th, hanging out, going around the floor, having a blast. I know you can't make it, David. It's not going to be the same without. This will be the first one I've gone to without you, so it'll be a little different. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, the 501st will be there, but outside of the 501st and the Rebel Legion, there's not going to be a big Star Wars presence there. Their guests are actually a couple anime voice actors and a couple Power Rangers. So, I mean, if you like Power Rangers and you like anime, this would be a great show to come to. It's actually in my hometown of Lakeland. Tickets are still on sale. You can get them at centralfloridacomiccon.com. Check them out. And if you do come, let me know. We'll meet up somewhere on the con. It's not a huge con, but it's a nice size con, and it's growing each year. So it's been great. And we'll meet up, hang out, and walk the floor, talk some Star Wars, and just have a good old time. So there we go. There was another con. As a lot of you know, Disney is in my blood. Okay, It's been in my blood for a long time. That's how I got started in podcasting. That's how I met David. Disney's played a big part in my fandom. So there's a site that I follow on Facebook. Actually, I have a website, but there's a group on Facebook I'm part of. And the people that founded this website, and this is basically all they do is cover theme park news, but they focus on Disney. They're called the Main Street Mouse. Look them up. They're awesome. Scott and Michelle run it. But they have apparently been working on this since 2017, and it's finally come to fruition. They are launching their very own convention in Orlando in November. So it'll be November 27th and 28th, so that's Black Friday. It's the weekend after Thanksgiving. It's called the House of Mouse Expo. And they literally announced this like 2 nights ago. And they were just to see the excitement in them when I watched the video of their announcement. It's a big deal for them, and it's going to be a huge deal because it's not just focused on Disney; it's focused on all Disney properties. So Marvel, Pixar, Star Wars, then of course Disney, all these things that Disney owns is what it's going to be focused in on, and it's going to be great. I mean, they already have a bang up list of stars and guests that are going to be there. From The Mandalorian, Dominic Pace is going to be there. He played Gecko in an episode of The Mandalorian. If you're into some of the Disney movies, they have 3 actors there. They're going to be from the movie Hocus Pocus, which they just announced is getting a sequel. Finally. A couple actors from Pirates of the Caribbean are going to be there. One of the Disney animators who worked on a lot of the Disney movies are going to be there. And I'm talking like the movies like Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Aladdin. He worked on these and actually is best known for animating characters like Scuttle from Little Mermaid, LeFou from Beauty and the Beast, Abu the monkey from Aladdin. These are his characters that he designed and animated. So this is a big deal. And it's a great thing. And matter of fact, they even are going to have one night there. I believe it's going to be that Saturday night. They're going to actually have a nighttime event, which is going to be under a separate ticket. And they're going to have DJ Elliott there. If you know anything about Star Wars weekends, DJ Elliott is AKA DJ Lobot. So it's a big deal. It's huge news. I am actually really looking forward to that convention. I've actually been talking to him. You'll see us plug it on social media every once in a while. But the House of Mouse Expo, you can find the website houseofmouseexpo.com. Links will be in our show notes for that and Central Florida Comic Con. Tickets are on sale, so you want to grab them while you can and plan your visit. This is one I definitely want to go to.
Oh, me too. I'd love to meet Dominic Pace. I have gotten on Twitter and I followed him. He immediately followed me back, and gosh, he did the big tour of the country last year. Mm-hmm. And a lot of Star Wars fans just loved meeting him, and what a neat guy. And I'd love to do that. And of course, if it gives me a chance to see you, hang out with you, I'm bummed I'm missing Central Florida Comic Con. Went to the last 2. Now, obviously, they typically have them in January, and I love that con. And you and I just walking around, like I said, looking at 5,000 different comics. So even if they don't have big guests to get autographs or not, there's so much to do as you walk around. And I just so
really, much to get me in trouble.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. It's like I don't know. I've said it, it's like the perfect size con. It's not overwhelming. It's always fun to get pictures. You and I always get tons of pictures of the 501st, and I'm talking to those men and women, and ask them all kinds of questions about costuming and their, guns. And everything, the helmets. It's so cool, and so I'm really bummed that I'm missing that. But hopefully they'll be moving that back to January next year, and Aaron and I will be going there as much as we possibly can. But Aaron will keep us up to date on what's going down.
Oh yeah, we'll have, as news comes out, we'll let you know, and we'll see what happens. We'll look for a special report there soon after about what's going on at Central Florida, and we'll go from there. It's going to be a great time, a lot of fun. So, but with that pretty much wraps up all the news we'll discuss today. So, like I said, as more news breaks, you could find it on our social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Those are great places to find us. Also, Facebook, Twitter. Yes, okay. Wait, did I miss one? I felt like I missed one. But no, I didn't. So, go me. So, also do want to say a quick thank you to everybody who has been pushing and sharing our Facebook, our new Facebook page, because we have definitely seen it explode this past week with the whole flurry of activity. We are now up to 57 follows on our brand new 2-week-old Facebook page, since the other one, got tanked. So we're actually only five follows behind where we were on the other one. So it's growing rapidly, and I just want to say from the depths of my heart, thank you so much. We do appreciate you. Continue to share it, and we would appreciate that, because we want to see this grow and become an even bigger success on Facebook than it was before. So, and of course, the more it's out there and the more it's shared by y'all, because word of mouth is if you're more likely to do something if a friend recommends it rather than seeing a commercial for it. So if your friend recommends something, you're more likely to follow it. So tell your friends about us, share it with them, and we would definitely greatly appreciate you.
Yeah, ditto what Aaron said. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, all right. So with that, what we're going to do is take a brief break, and we will be right back as we start our episode review of Rampage. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here. We are just having a blast tonight so far, and we are ready to jump into our reactions to the latest episode of The Bad Batch, entitled Rampage. Rampage, of course, was released on Disney Plus on May 28th, 2021, directed by Stuart Lee and written by Tamara Becher-Wilkerson. Great episode. In a nutshell, in order to figure out who is pursuing them, the Bad Batch head to the planet Ord Mantell, where they cut a deal with a former Jedi informant named Sid to get that information. But in exchange, Clone Force 99 must rescue Moochie for Sid. Moochie doesn't end up being a kid like they were anticipating. It ends up being a young Rancor. And they had to rescue her from Zygerian slaves. And, of course, chaos ensues. So, initial thoughts. David, let's start with you, my brother. What were your initial thoughts on Rampage?
Yeah, and what I did there real quick on our show notes is change Moochie from how I spelled it to how it shows it in the show and the episode guide. It's M-U-C-H-I, Moochie. I thought it was, M-O-O-C-H-I-E, Moochie. But anyways, no, it was a fun episode. It's just fun to say Moochie. So, as with the previous episode that added this other layer of intrigue, and that intrigue was, Fennec Shan on the trail of the Bad Batch. and literally the question of who hired her. This episode definitely adds another layer with Sid. And, I have several questions. How much will she end up helping them? Will she turn them and Omega in for the credits? Of course, I love Moochie. How can you not love an adolescent Rancor that's rampaging all over the place and is cute and adorable? And, and then at the end, how can you not love Wrecker and Moochie's quote-unquote fight for submission? How they both end up falling down from exhaustion with each other. I just thought, it was a great mix of beautiful, beautiful animation. Like I mentioned, the added intrigue, and it was fun. And that's a big part of Star Wars that I love. Not just the wars, but it's also fun. And so, overall, really enjoyed this.
Very good, very good. I got to say, I enjoyed this episode as well. It was a fun episode. I'm glad they're building the mystery around Fennec and who's hired her and how they're pursuing her. I like that. It was very fun to see that story progress. I will say I got a good kick of the twist being Moochie being a Rancor. When they first got there and they're spying on it and they see the kid, the hostages down below, that little lizard thing that comes flying through, you see it slithering in the background. I'm sitting there thinking, watch it, that's going to be Moochie. Gotcha. I bet you that's going to be Moochie. That's going to be hilarious. That's going to be Moochie. And it wasn't. And I'm like, okay. They missed a good shot there. Then it wound up being a Rancor, and I'm like, even better. Like, that's perfect. I thought it was awesome seeing the Zygerians again. I remember them from the Clone Wars episode, Kidnapped. It was fun to see them and kind of hear about what their plans are. And then, of course, the surprise at the end that Moochie actually belonged to our favorite, our favorite Hutt, Jabba. It was good. I enjoyed that. A lot of fun. So overall, I enjoyed it. So those are my opening thoughts in a nutshell. So let's go ahead and hit on some of these talking points we got here about the episode. I gotta say, David, the more we go through this episode, the more I think you're onto something with Wrecker hitting his head and that head injury coming into play, because it's predominant. It's not a big part, but they are overly emphasizing he's having head issues at this point, and it's got to mean something. They just don't do something like that for no reason.
Exactly.
And especially after, him complaining his head was still hurting, and then of him getting into a fist fight with a Rancor and taking blow after blow to his head, he ain't got to be feeling much better, man. Which has got me wondering what angle are they possibly going to with this head injury? Could it be? I mean, there's so many. I just don't know. But yeah, I think you're onto something there, brother.
Well, and they're telegraphing this, and this is what the third episode in a row where he's been complaining about that. And then then I think it was with Hunter. He goes, no, I'm okay. And then of course he gets smacked, getting, like you said, into a submission fight with Moochie. So I mean, I can think of several angles, but I think I said last week I got to stop speculating. But I like what you said. There's a couple different angles they can go, and I'm with you. And I'm just going to leave it at that, and people can use their imagination. on where that could go. But yes, they're telegraphing it. They're mentioning it every week, and so for younger listeners or watchers, forgive me, of the show, they're picking up on it too. I would think, just Wrecker's head hurts, and what's that going to mean? So keep your eyes peeled.
Oh, absolutely. With the adolescent Rancor. That was, to me, was just great comic relief. He gets all excited. He gets to fist fight a Rancor. And the Rancor is like twice his size. Right. And, he's not a small dude either. Wrecker is. And you just see them throwing punches at each other. Like, it'd be like me punching a brick wall, and his hand just literally bounced right off of the Rancor, and the Rancor just kind of looked at him like, "Excuse me, what you doing?" Did you get as much of a kick out of that as I did?
Well, yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad you said that, because going back to the initial thoughts, it was so fun, just fun to see Muchi ravaging the Zygerians. I was just looking at the episode guide because they were describing the creature and the name of it. I'm blocking on it right now, but that's okay. I love seeing Muchi kind of pound that thing around and throw it up and down and bite its tail. That was great. And then, like you said, to piggyback on what you said, like not only are they throwing haymakers at each other, but towards the end, Wrecker misses, Muchi misses, and they just fall on top of each other and kind of pass out from exhaustion. And that's the fun, when I think about, the original trilogy and Han and Chewie, teasing each other, and the comic relief of C-3PO, any of that stuff, and Han, giving C-3PO, all kinds of grief. Just the comedy and fun, it really helps. But in this one, I got a big kick out of it. It's just good fun.
It really was. It was a lot of fun. It was very entertaining, and it made it interesting. And I believe the creature you were thinking of is the Breezak.
Yes, thank you.
So, see, I help out sometimes.
Nice, brother.
Yes. Score one for Aaron. So yeah, it was fun to see that interaction with and see that comic relief and just play out. And essentially, they just wore each other down, is what it was, and it was a lot of fun. The episode actually opened up with Omega getting a gift from Hunter and the Bad Batch crew, which was basically getting her own comm unit. It's one of those those upper arm doohickeys that go up there, and it's got the buttons and everything. So it's a comm unit. And they, and I find it, I love how the first thing she does, once she gets it, she calls Hunter, who's standing like right next to her, which is, what most kids do. You give them a phone. Here, congratulations, you got your own phone. Next thing you know, they're calling you, and you're standing right next to them. Hi, Dad, just wanted to see if it worked.
Right.
Yeah, it works. And what's the first thing he says? It's not a toy.
Well, this too, Aaron, is some of that comedy, that fun, and they do it just enough. They don't overdo it, but it's fun to see Omega playing around with it and kind of giving them a little bit of grief. So, but it wasn't overdone. It's fun, not overdone and fun. There you go.
Yes, exactly. And it was, and it came into play later in the episode too, and it was a lot of fun. I want to talk about the Bad Batch as a whole for a minute, because this is something that has kind of been picking at me through the last couple episodes. We've seen it happen, and we saw it happen real predominantly in this episode. when they were almost immediately captured by the Zygerian thugs, the slavers, and very easily and very quickly. For such an elite group of clones whose specialty is this type of secret stealth mission, they're getting beat up and captured too easily.
Yeah.
Is it me? Or I mean, it's almost like they're just not. I think Tex said it best when he was talking to Hunter while Wrecker and the Rancor were going at it. Yeah, he's losing his touch. He's like, yeah, he's losing his touch. I think they're all losing their touch. They're getting captured too easily. They're not. I mean, it's like they're not there, and it makes me wonder if it's because they don't have the support of the Republic anymore. Is it B, they're distracted by Omega, or is it C, is they're not as efficient as they were because the team is not whole. They don't have Crosshair.
I like those options, and I was thinking about that, the distraction of Omega, but also not having their whole team and having the help, in essence, the aerial support, the sniper support of Crosshair, and how that's affecting them. That makes a lot of sense to me.
I mean, because they're not. I mean, even in the first episode of this series, we saw them there. This is an elite group. I mean, they didn't get captured by Saul's group. They let themselves get captured because they weren't going to kill him. I mean, it wasn't.
Exactly.
It wasn't It wasn't. You overpowered us and caught us off guard. It was, yeah, we're not going to kill you because this ain't right, which is what we were sent to do. It's there for them to build them up as this unbeaten. I think they even said that they had a perfect record. Up until that mission where they didn't kill Saul's people, they had, on all accounts, a perfect record. They had never lost, never failed at a mission. They seem to be getting their tail whooped so much now. It's just, I mean, last episode, Wrecker and Hunter got beat by Finnick. Right. They escaped by the skin of their teeth. And not one, they escaped by the skin of their teeth. They did not beat her. They escaped.
Mm-hmm.
This episode, the trappers caught them. When the first episode, they escaped by the skin of their teeth when Crosshair turned on them. I mean, there's just Hunter gets taken out by a slug, and Omega has to save the day. I'm sorry, these aren't the type of trust. I understand everybody has a bad day. Okay, but elite troops like this don't have bad days like that, or they're dead.
Well, right, and they escaped this one by the skin of their teeth with Omega pulling the pin on the Rancor cage. If not, I don't know that they're getting out, right?
Exactly.
And, and I guess one of the things I was thinking about, and my son talks about this in video games, is it's like something's OP, overpowering, right? And I guess if they completely kick butt every single thing, there'd be like no worry, no challenge, no intrigue, no worry. But I'm with you, and this is something that you and I put in our show notes, that it just seems like it's a little too, for being the elite squad and the sizzle reel that they put on StarWars.com, etc., for them to get beat so quick by these Zygerian thugs who are, again, they're formidable. I mean, we saw them last, in the Clone Wars, but man, I just didn't think they were as formidable as the Bad Batch. Maybe against regular clones and stuff, but these guys have the special skills. So it just seemed a little too quick for me, and it's been a little too quick in some of these episodes. But again, minor quibble, I guess. Maybe could be a major quibble if they keep getting their butts kicked.
Well, I mean, you got to keep in mind. I mean, the Zygarians. If anybody was going to beat them, I could see the Zygarians beating them. I mean, remember last time we saw them was in the Clone Wars. The episode Kidnapped, and they gave Kenobi, Skywalker, and Ahsoka a run for their money.
Yes.
I mean, at one point they even had Ahsoka or Kenobi in chains.
Yes.
So I mean, this is not.
They're not chumps.
They're not chumps. They're not thugs. I mean, now they're thugs because they don't have the whole slavers thing behind them anymore. But they're not. It's not chump change for them anymore. These are very, if anybody's going to beat them, it would be these guys. But with that being said, with as perfect as these other people are supposed to be, how are they not doing better? I mean, not saying that they should do better than Obi-Wan.
Right.
But they should have done better than Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I just felt, especially when they're coming in with stealth and all that. I mean, I know Ahsoka was undercover in those things, and they were more numerous and more well oiled back in the Clone Wars versus before getting shut down. With that invasion to Davo, I think their planet was that they were on. But it's just a little too quick getting beat by them for me. But again, let's see how it plays out in more challenges, more episodes, more bad guys. But this one was a little too quick for me.
Oh, absolutely. It was a little too quick for me as well. I don't know. It's something I'm just going to have to work through, and hopefully we see it. I'm leaning to the fact that they're struggling because their team is not whole. Because not, like you said, every time, like we mentioned, Wrecker's always complaining about his headache. For every head injury, every time they mention Wrecker's head injury, there's always a mention of Crosshair. He complains his head hurts. Oh yeah, that's comm unit. Oh yeah, that was Crosshairs. Okay. I mean, everything kind of ties back. It's almost like these two things are interweaving. So yes, Wrecker's not at 100% because he's got a brain injury, but at the same point, the team as a whole is not at 100% because they're missing Wrecker, Crosshair.
Yeah, so almost down to two bad batchers at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
1.5 if you say Omega counts, but
okay, yeah.
But
yeah, he's part of the squad. Yep.
Yeah, it's part of the squad now. But I don't know. It's for the way they were hyped and the way they were built up. I just have been. That's kind of been bothering me. As quick as they always come out on top. So I got to give them that. They always come out on top somehow, whether it's barely escaping or winning by fluke, and by fluke I mean Omega. I mean it's just been interesting for sure. So
yeah.
So I will say again, and I said it the last episode, I'm going to say it again this episode. They're killing me by not talking about Crosshair and his story. This is the third episode now where we've gotten no continuation of what's going on with Crosshair. Why? What could they possibly be saving up for to not give us at least a glimpse into what's going on? He's being mentioned every episode, but why aren't we seeing him with his new elite squad that he's in command of? Why aren't we seeing him in building those relationships and those fleshing out that storyline. Because, I mean, you got to flesh that storyline out if he's going to be redeemed, unless you have no intention of redeeming him.
I can't answer it for you. Your question is great. What can they? I want to see him. I want to see what's going on. I'm with you 100%. So I have no idea why they're not at least even giving us a little, like in maybe the first two, like just kind of showing a little quick, shot of Keiner and seeing what they're doing. That'd be great. But they're holding off.
Oh yeah, they sure are. I mean, I don't know. The only thing that made the second episode for me any good was seeing that storyline. And that was the only thing that saved that episode for me, was seeing that half of the storyline. And it's just one of those things that it's killing me. It's killing me.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, I think it goes to show too that you and I, we really love Star Wars. At the same time, we will try to, convey to people when we don't, like certain things. But that's, merely our opinions, just our thoughts. And but Aaron and I will definitely express dislike for stuff if we don't like it or we're confused or disappointed. I mean, of course, I think I don't know. We'll see as the season goes on. I would love to see Crosshair go through the process that Rex had there in Clone Wars Season 7 and get that chip removed, and see Crosshair back into the good graces of the Bad Batch. But no guarantee of that in this show.
Oh no guarantee at all. Let's talk real quick. I know we mentioned it in our openers. Bib Fortuna was back in this episode. How about that? Good old Bib Fortuna. Of course, Jabba's major domo, Bib Fortuna. And he was voiced in this by Matthew Wood, who actually played Bib Fortuna in episode 1, The Phantom Menace. He also played Bib in that clip at the end of the season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. So it was awesome to have Matt Wood back for this episode as Bib Fortuna, a young Bib Fortuna at that.
Well, you wonder, Aaron. Again, Star Wars has really struggled with this linear storytelling, back and forth. And I wonder how many kids I wonder if they're not quite teens yet. Well, maybe preteens, teenagers who are asking their mom and dads who are Star Wars fans like you and me, wait, Dad, Mom, didn't we just see Bib Fortuna get shot by Boba Fett at the end of in that stinger in The Mandalorian? So how's he back in this episode, right?
Exactly. Yeah, they can't keep the timeline straight.
Oh,
I will say this. I have had an issue with that a little bit.
Yeah.
Going through, and honestly, going through the Bad Batch, there were a couple times I'm like, man, this really seeks. What about the New Republic? And it hits me. Wait, the Republic just fell. This is before Return of the Jedi. This was in between the prequels and the original trilogy. I have to keep reminding myself that sometimes.
Exactly.
And which brings me something completely off target. Target, topic, whatever. I should probably stay on target, but I'm not going to. Don't you remember right after the Disney purchase and they canceled the Clone Wars and they said they weren't going to focus on this time period anymore? It was all going to be focused on the sequel time periods.
Right.
What happened?
Right. Right. I think, I do think the fans really calling for more Clone Wars. It really worked. And there's an example, I think, of fandom doing something really awesome. And and clearly, we all know that the Bad Batch is a continuation of the Clone Wars animated series, and I love it, and I'm glad they're doing it. But yeah, I think it's well, yeah. Oh goodness, we could get into a lot of stuff. Ooh, yeah. It's interesting. I think maybe you and I've talked about it before. How it's very interesting to me that you know. It seems like the view of the prequels is that they're aging a little bit better now, and maybe the sequel trilogy isn't aging well right now.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, even after the prequels came out, there was a hatred of the prequels that sat around for a very long time. The only difference was there was no social media back then to,
Right.
propagate, some of the a lot of the negativity.
Yeah.
Where now, one false step in an episode, and next thing you know, the series is being canceled because negativity is so bad. It gets a little crazy, but it's. Yeah, I mean, I think it was such an outcry for the Clone Wars, and there has been an outcry for the Clone Wars ever since the series canceled, especially after they did the quote unquote lost missions to bring it back, save the Clone Wars, and people don't ever let anybody. And this is I'm going to say this is going to be our lesson for the day. We'll just say it like that. This right here is proof that your voice counts.
Yeah.
Don't ever let anybody tell you your voice doesn't matter, your voice doesn't count. It does. If people wouldn't have stood up and said, we want more Clone Wars, we wouldn't have gotten season 7, which means we wouldn't have gotten the Bad Batch series.
Yeah. And I think Filoni has said that, the fans were instrumental in bringing this back versus, not, if fans don't clamor for it or post or ask for it, then it probably, like you said, we wouldn't have had season 7 or this Bad Batch follow up. But, and I have to admit, I'm thankful that Disney has changed their tune and isn't, they're not just focusing on the sequel timeline. Now, Mandalorian is after Return of the Jedi and in the way and not in the way, on the way between Jedi and, the sequel trilogy. So I love that they're there, with the Mandalorian time period and stuff like that, which is more in the sequel realm. Or arguably the original trilogy, because we obviously got to see Luke there, and yeah, you hope that they can, I don't know, and it looks like they're doing it. Produce things in different eras, and Star Wars fans can enjoy it. I do think about, and I have to admit, I do the same thing as you. I have to tell myself, wait, where is this on the timeline? Because I know a lot of people experienced confusion when they saw Solo and they saw who at the end?
Yep.
Right? Darth Vader. Wait, he's dead, right? Because we just saw him die in Rebels.
Yeah.
Right?
Rebels.
Yeah. And now he's alive. And so that's the thing with Star Wars, with this non-linear production of things. And I get why they've done it. But that's confusing versus a more linear process, and I'd like to see more linear and just kind of let's go straight on this for a while, But I do what you do. I just have to stop and think about it, and then I'm like, okay, I know where it is on the timeline. But for some fans who aren't like you and me, and of course, when you and I are at Star Wars Celebration or Central Florida Comic Con, I mean, we're there with hardcore fans, and I think most of us just have to stop and think for a minute about the timeline. Wait, is this between the prequels and the original trilogy, or between the original trilogy and the the sequels, and then some of the little variants in between there and stuff, and then we're good to go.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, little side rant.
Very cool. Nope, all good, because I went on a side rant. So, all right, one more talking point I want to get to before we, two more talking points really. That I want to touch on before we wrap up there. After this episode aired, there was a clamoring online. Is Muchi Jabba's Rancor that Luke killed? No, it is not. A lot of people are saying, well, yeah, it could be. They just haven't retconned it yet. It's true. They do retcon stuff. And they could do that if they chose to. But as of right now, it is not. Luke's, the Rancor that Luke killed in Return of the Jedi was named Patissa. And it is from the book we got that name from the book Life Debt, Aftermath, Life Debt, the second book in the Aftermath series, which is canon. It came out post the purchase. The EU had already been made the Legends. This was one of the first canon books released after that. So, no, Muchi was not murdered by Luke.
No, this was a big issue, man.
It was a big deal online. And he didn't. It's a different one. Let's just leave it at that. And not get tied up in that discussion, because it's not him. Just go with it. We are what, 4 episodes in? 5 episodes into the Bad Batch. And I feel like I have not done my job, because this is the first time I will have mentioned the name Kevin Keiner. Kevin Keiner is the composer who does the music for the Bad Batch. He has done an outstanding job so far. He did it for the Rebels. He did it for Clone Wars. He did some of the music for Resistance. He's got a history with Star Wars music. But he's came back and is doing the Bad Batch, and I gotta say I've enjoyed what he's done so far. How about you, David?
Well, you're the one who got me going on Kevin Keiner. I give you credit for that. And I love his music. I think when I think of Kevin Keiner, the first music that I think about is from the end of season 5 with Anakin and Ahsoka outside, on the steps of the Jedi Temple. And when she walks away, it's already so powerful, Matt Lanter and Ashley Eckstein's voice acting, but the music that he puts in there, I'm just in tears. And I believe, help me, brother, that he went to what foreign country, I'm trying to remember, and had an actual orchestra. He got permission to have an actual orchestra perform that music, I believe. Isn't that right, brother?
He did, and I'm blanking on the country right now.
But it was just beautiful.
Oh yeah, he does a tremendous job, and that was one of his best pieces there. I will say so far in the Bad Batch, there haven't been any particular themes or pieces that just really grabbed me, because there hasn't really been any major key moments that have occurred outside of Order 66. And even at that point in the first episode, when Order 66 happens, it was still, a lot of it was recycled Star Wars music by John Williams. There wasn't this individual theme per se. Unlike one of my favorite pieces, when I think Kevin Keiner, I got 2 pieces that pop into my head. his theme for Thrawn from Rebels, that deep organ music, and then when Satine dies.
Oh, jeez.
Those are the two pieces that to me are his finest work from Clone Wars, and it's so I'm waiting. He's done a great job in Bad Batch, but I'm just waiting for that signature moment, because there really has not been anything so far through these 5 episodes that has, been pivotal per se.
Quick note, brother, man. I heard that Keiner, I think he posted it, that he said he was putting the finishing touches on maybe the end of this season 1, and he was like emotionally moved or in tears by what he was producing. So you made me think about that I think he's got some of that coming, and if we know Kevin Keiner, he's got it up his sleeve. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Which then brings me to what's happening at the end of this. If his pieces are emotional and moving him writing it, what is coming up at the end of this series that's going to require that kind of emotional music?
Well, like you and I talked in a previous episode from this season of the Bad Batch, unlike the Clone Wars, again, when we knew Anakin and Obi-Wan would make it into episode 3, there are no guarantees for Omega, Wrecker, Hunter, any of these Crosshairs. We could, do we lose a Bad Batcher by the end of this season? Does something happen to Omega? I mean, oh my goodness! Like I said, heartstrings are going to be pulled, and Kevin Keiner is going to be a part of it.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So. All right. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up our talking points for Rampage. We're going to take another quick break, and we will be right back with our final thoughts. We'll grade the episodes, and David will walk us through a brand new Psychology Corner. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here. We are discussing Rampage. We've finished our talking points and everything, so it's time to just wrap up our discussion and grade the episode and give us our final thoughts. David, why don't you go ahead and start off with your final thoughts?
All right. Yeah, as I mentioned in my initial thoughts, I really like the addition of Sid to the mix. Of course, we haven't mentioned the voice actor, Rhea Perlman. I like that she didn't go full-on Carla from Cheers, right? But there was definitely that spunk in there, and of course I love Cheers and her in it. So definitely that layer of intrigue. I mentioned that obviously added Fennec Shan. Now we've added Sid, and I can see her reoccurring here as not just the rest of the season, but maybe in the next depending on how many seasons they want to do of Bad Batch, she can always be there for an adventure or some type of task, etc. for the Bad Batch to do. Like I was saying, that ending scene between Hunter and Sid, leaves us viewers with another potential threat to our heroes. And I like that. I in the High Republic, as Aaron and I talked about in our news section, they've also done that. The writers, the creators, Michael Siglain and the whole crew there, the creatives have really created multiple threats to our heroes in the High Republic, and our heroes in the High Republic are the Jedi. Here, of course, with the Bad Batch, but they're going up against the Nihil and the Drengir, and they're making those really interesting, formidable foes for our Jedi heroes. So for this series that Aaron and I are covering, it keeps us interested and worried for our heroes, right? Versus, we know what's going to happen. I am interested to see Fennec Shan and Sid in future episodes and what they do and kind of how that pushes the story forward. And like I said, that's a good sign, right? Being interested in future episodes instead of me saying, I don't care, boring. I'm not saying that. And in fact, Aaron brought it up as a talking point. We want to see more of Crosshair. That's a good sign. It's we're interested. We want to know these characters, and so again, looking at the last several episodes, I mentioned it last week that I've got more episodes under my belt, so I've got a better feel on how I want to grade these, and I would give this one an A-. I think last week I mentioned a B+. I do like this one more. It was I love the action with the Rancor and the Breezak and Wrecker and the humor. So yeah, a little slight bump up from the B+ last week to the A- this week. Very enjoyable episode.
Very good, very good. For me, I enjoyed the episode. It was a good episode. It had its strong points. Omega had a very believable reaction when she was given the comm unit, and she reacted how you would expect a kid to react in the situation she was put in the episode. So, which made it more believable for me. I enjoy the comic relief in this episode was great. Rhea Perlman did an awesome job as Sid, which again is another possibly issue that our heroes have to deal with. One of those people, do you trust them enough to help you? Or do you almost like a Vizago from Rebels? Can you really trust them? Is he going to help you while selling you out at the same time? Type of deal. So I definitely got that feel from Sid, and interested to see how she plays out into their future there. Like I said, I did have some issues here, and it's not necessarily with the episode, but overall issues that I've seen so far. Like we talked about with the ease of the Bad Batch being beat. Granted, they do escape by the skin of their teeth, but they're not, this perfect unit which they've been portrayed at this whole time. And of course, it's just little things like that. But overall, I did enjoy this episode. It was definitely a good episode. I wouldn't go as high as an A-. I actually would give it a B+, is how I would grade it. So it was good. It was good. But, things could always be better. And I got a feeling, and especially after the comments that you said Keiner made, I got a feeling better is coming. So A- for you, B+ for me. There we go. How would you grade the episode? What did you think of Rampage? Let us know. We'd love to hear how you grade these episodes as well. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can email us, show@Star Wars Reactions, and we would love to get your feedback and thoughts there. All right. Well, that closes out our discussion on Rampage. David, it's time for your all-new Psychology Corner, my friend.
All right, man. Well, I mentioned last week that a lot of times these episodes, fortunately, have really made my job easier here for the Psychology Corner. When I initially watched this, I was like, gosh, what am I going to talk about as a psychological issue for the Psychology Corner? But then it just really hit me in domestic violence, particularly with the Zygerian slavers. And domestic violence, or DV, if I just shorten it, is this really critically important psychological and sociological and familial issue in our country. And I thought, with this episode, it got me thinking about it. And I thought, well, this would be a really good opportunity and really almost like a PSA, right? A public service announcement for people, regarding this really, like I said, critical issue. I'll say this, just give a little background. As a psychologist, I am required by the state of Florida to earn CMEs, continuing medical education, in 3 areas: domestic violence, medical errors, and ethics. Those are required, not just for me, but for every psychologist in the state of Florida. And for them to require that shows how important they truly are. And so I thought, well, heck, this is a perfect time to do this, because these Zygerrian slave traders who we first met in the Clone Wars, season 4, and Aaron had mentioned it earlier, that episode Kidnapped, and just really powerful episodes at that time. They truly dish out violence by the truckloads. They're just, they really they're the ones who got me thinking about the domestic violence, and I kind of thought back, Aaron again mentioned it earlier in this episode. Just we see Obi-Wan in chains. We see him really beaten down before he's rescued there at the end of that particular arc. So again, thought it was a good transition, a good segue to discuss this very important issue. Now, look, there is a lot to learn under the overarching subject of domestic violence. So I thought I would narrow it down for this psychology corner to just really help our listeners understand why people stay in relationships that involve domestic violence. Again, there's so many different topic areas that I want to share with our listeners under domestic violence, that I don't have time to cover it. But I thought the first topic underneath domestic violence would be to, again, really help our listeners understand why people stay in these kind of relationships. It can be very confusing to us. Why? Why does she stay? Why does he stay? So many times, people who have not been in a domestic violence relationship, they can't understand why a person, especially a woman, right? We've seen this many times, would stay in a physically, emotionally, or financially abusive relationship. However, there's a number of internal and external barriers or reasons that keep persons not only in a domestic violence situation or relationship, but also from reporting the abuse, okay? So what I'm going to do here is just cover some of the internal barriers that can occur. So for this episode, I wanted to narrow it down to that. And I'll definitely keep an eye out for any episodes of The Bad Batch, or even, season 3 of The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, anything like that. I just know that Aaron and I, we'll have this psychology corner, and I'll keep my eyes peeled for opportunities that would lend itself to discussing the external barriers to reporting domestic violence and leaving those situations. So let me first define internal barriers, okay, and then we'll get into some of them. They are those challenges that come from within a community, preventing them from addressing issues of concern. Okay, so just keep in mind that, with all individuals, they may not experience all of these internal barriers, okay? But, some of them, people can experience 1 or 2 or 3 or more, but probably not all of them. Okay, so let me start with shame and how this can be an internal barrier for people to, report abuse. There's not only great shame in experiencing, domestic violence, but there also is in telling others about the abuse. It can really create, shame for themselves, their family, and even some of their communal traditions and stuff like this. Expectations are really, really powerful in families. And the thought of defying them can make, and I think of this example, some women stay in a relationship for fear of disappointing others and demonstrating, a sign of weakness and not being able to handle one's problems or family situations or household concerns. So shame is a real powerful barrier to leaving some of these really bad situations. Here's another one. It's called telling is taboo. This is where communities this is where some communities have this view that they shouldn't work with or engage with law enforcement, right? That can be a prevalent notion that can be a barrier to addressing domestic violence. For example, in some communities, they can be encouraged to be quiet about what's going on, regardless of how badly they're feeling or how they're being affected. It can start in early childhood. This idea of not telling can be reinforced by seeing others in the communities who are hurt or harmed because they revealed something that was not expected to be shared in their community. So again, sometimes it's like you just don't talk about this, right? I've talked to many people in my office of every color skin, and they'll say, well, it's even hard to come in here and talk to you, Dave Motters, about all these other issues, not even abuse, because, we've been told since childhood, you don't air your dirty laundry. I've had white, black, and Hispanic clients tell me that. How about this one? The role of secrets. Secrets are really powerful in many communities, and secrets are often passed down from generation to generation. They can preserve and protect families and family legacies, right? Trying to hide suicides, things like that. But here it's in regards to domestic violence. It's kind of like the domestic violence is acknowledged and simultaneously not discussed. Okay. So this idea of sharing the secret or burdening others with, knowing about that violence, domestic violence, can be both painful and challenging. So again, secrets can play a role. Family and community pressures. Here's a big one that I've seen a lot of in my office, unfortunately. Here's a classic. Family members may encourage a woman to stay in a relationship if the perpetrator is a solid financial provider, particularly if there's children involved. I've talked to women in my office. They're like, I don't want to be with this guy. I've been married to him 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but who's going to pay my bills? He's not going to take care of the kids. I'm going to. And there's no one stepping up to help me, raise these kids or pay for these things. And so I've had a number of women stay because of the financial conundrum that they're in. And I've talked to women about this. So anyway, some of these expectations that way, I could go into more details there, but let me move on to faith and religious responses. Okay. So, I was thinking about this, this can be a real bugaboo. People can be manipulated. They can misinterpret and selectively interpret scripture, right, in a way that provides obstacles for people to get the help that they need. And I was looking here in some literature. It says this. Some of these notions can encourage a woman of faith to stay in an abusive relationship despite knowing it is wrong and wanting desperately to get out of the relationship. A very powerful barrier. It is vital that practitioners be aware how faith and religion can be manipulated and utilized to keep women in abusive relationships instead of helping them to escape from the violence. And so I've talked to a lot of women of faith about this as well. So something to keep in mind. So perhaps the last one, and it's something that's been a big issue in our country, is the issue of race. And again, these are touchy subjects, but I feel very comfortable discussing all these because I talk to all my clients about it. I got people of every color skin, every religious background, atheists, agnostics, I got it all. And I just love them, and I'm going to be supportive of my clients. So this one is where racial loyalty has is when a woman of color may withstand abuse and make a conscious self-sacrifice for what she perceives as the greater good of the community, but to her own physical, psychological, and spiritual detriment. And this occurs when this woman makes the conscious decision to put, not just a woman, forgive me, his or her needs aside in order to protect the perpetrator from experiencing racism and discrimination particularly within the criminal justice system. And so we can see some of these things. This is why we have to think about things in context as well. That's something I have to do as a clinical psychologist when I'm working with persons of, different colors and different backgrounds. And of course, the different sexual orientations as well. So there's a lot of real big time struggles here when it comes to domestic violence. And again, what I've shared with you is just some internal barriers, not even the external barriers. But again, quickly, there's shame, telling is taboo, the role of secrets, racial loyalty, family and community pressures, right? Those can come together and make it difficult. And then also faith and religious responses. These are all things that I have to look at and address with my clients and do it in a loving, supportive way where I help them to become good psychologists and traverse this kind of these kind of challenges and barriers to dealing with domestic violence. But I wanted to share some of these with you guys, the listeners, but also keep in mind, I have so many other subjects to cover under this, topics under this overarching domestic violence theme that I want to share with you in episodes to follow. But just know there's a lot more there. I didn't do any justice to these issues. Maybe I did some. I hope I just got some of you thinking about some of these issues. But again, a very difficult subject, but one that I thought is important to discuss, and I thought that it played off very nicely from this episode and these Zygerian slavers. So again, if you have any more questions about it, let me know, and we can talk about it more. Any of these issues, any previous psychological issues I've covered in the different psychology corners. So there you go, Aaron.
Very good, very good. And if they did want to discuss that with you, how would they go about doing that?
Right. I held back because I know you always set me out. Two ways. One, Twitter, and my handle is @David_Motters. Again, last name is Modders, not Mott, as in Tom. It's D as in David, Modders. And then, of course, the email is david@StarWarsReactions.com.
Excellent, excellent. As for me, if you want to talk Star Wars with me or anything, feel free to hit me up. Best place is always Twitter, TA Harris 121079, or of course you can email me, Aaron @StarWarsReactions.com. Don't forget to make sure you are following us everywhere on social media. We are, of course, our new Facebook page, SW Reactions, Instagram, SW Reactions, Twitter, SW Reactions Pod. So make sure you're following us there so you can get all the late breaking news as it does come out. We'll get that shared out to you there. And of course, if you ever do have questions for us in general, you can always email the show @StarWarsReactions.com. All right. David, my friend, this has been fun as always.
Yeah, I really enjoy it, man, and we're having a good time with the Bad Batch and the Psychology Corners, and hopefully people are enjoying them, and you and I have more stuff that we're thinking about to do for our listeners, so I want them to know that too.
Oh, yes, we got more stuff on the stove. We're trying to get it all cooked up just right, so it's coming. Don't worry about it. So, all right. Well, everybody, we just wanted to close out and let y'all know we do appreciate each and every one of you. We're thankful for each and every one of you. Pray for each and every one of you, and we hope you are doing well and continue to do well. Keep your chin up. Stay positive. Everything is great. Everything is great just because you are you. So thank you all for listening. Remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.